In the spring of 2019, my late husband, Jason Botchford, who was a well-known popular sports reporter here in Vancouver, was a victim of BC's overdose crisis. I was with Jason for 17 years, so when I discovered how he died, I thought, there must be a mistake. Jason doesn't do drugs. We have 3 young kids, and he knows the risks. But I was wrong. He died alone using an illegal substance. To me and to everyone who knew him, knows that Jason was a man of integrity and prioritized his family while still being extremely dedicated to his work. He was a good husband, an incredible hands-on dad, and a loyal friend and colleague. He often put everyone else above himself and would say, sometimes you have to do something you don't like to put everyone else. Sometimes you have to do something you don't like to make someone else happy. I was not only left terrorizing myself with every memory, trying to make sense of it, but his secret became my secret, which became this harboring shame that I carried for a year. I was so fearful that people would judge him and tear down his legacy. I was fearful that people would judge me for not knowing. And even worse, I feared people would treat my children's loss of their father as insignificant because of how he died. It was in those moments that I realized how much shame Jason must have carried and why he hid his substance use from everyone. The coroner advised me how common it is for middle-aged men to hide substance use, and their families are often in the dark. I can't comment how often he used, as I have no real evidence, but that is not the point here. The stigma around substance use and the dehumanizing of it suggests a society that one must suffer in silence alone. So here I was, a widow with 3 young kids, and our lives were made public. I was not only struggling with my grief and shame, but left to navigate living life raising an 8, 6, and 3-year-old. My instinct was to tell them he had a heart attack. I tiptoed around the topic of his death, thinking I was protecting them. Our kids are now 12, 10, and 7, and are learning about illegal substance use within their school curriculum. I realized that I was enabling an environment of secrecy, and by doing so, I was unconsciously creating shame. I first sat down with Sienna and Kira to tell them the truth about how their dad died. This was the most difficult conversation I have had to prepare for. I wanted to make sure that they didn't feel any shame or less of their father. They were actually more mad that I kept the truth from them than how he died. We all have a responsibility to change the narrative on substance use and the stigma associated with it. I stand here today to tell my story with hopes it will give courage to others to start their conversation about addiction and substance use, and perhaps through those conversations, it will lead to a healthier alternative. Thank you.